Welcome, everyone, to Circle City Conversations. Thank you for joining me for our conversation today. Thank you to our sponsor, Hurst, Limontes, an Indiana law firm with over 50 years of experience. I'd like to thank everyone for their continued support. I am here with a rising star among Indiana trial lawyers, a person who, like me, despises injustice, probably hates bullies, and fights hard for his clients every day, Mr. Rudy Longman. Rudy, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alex. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So do you ever, when I was thinking about talking to you today, I was thinking, obviously the Indiana movie, Rudy. Did you ever hear that? Rudy, Rudy, Rudy.
Oh yeah, that was my middle school principal's go-to on the student announcements would do the Rudy chant every so often. So got plenty of attention.
Yeah, I mean, if I had an awesome name like that, I would have that playing in my mind right before I'm getting ready to go into trial, like Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. So I can hear him chanting right now. I can hear the crowd chanting. Did your parents have that in mind when they named you that, or?
What's funny is that movie actually came out the year after I was born.
Yeah.
I think. So my mom just found the name and liked it and
really
said, we're going with Rudy.
Yeah. So where you were born in Indiana?
Yes.
You're from Indiana? What part?
So I was born in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I grew up in Fishers and graduated from Fishers High School.
Okay. And then after that, you decided you were like, I got to go to college, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
I went to Butler here in Indy.
Oh, very cool.
Hometown hero. Got to go to a couple national championship basketball games during college.
Nice.
So would have been nice to win one, but it was fun.
Right? It was fun to be there, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. So in high school, did you play any sports or anything growing up?
Yeah, I played soccer all 4 years. I was kind of involved in like doing the school newspaper and some of the kind of journalistic stuff.
Did you, as far as the journalistic stuff, did you enjoy really more the reporting or the writing side of it?
Well, I was fortunate enough that they let me write my own column, so
nice.
I had a lot of discretion in what I wanted to write about. And it started as a sports column and then kind of got into just general commentary that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've always had your strong opinion. You're going to write about it, right?
I'm going to let everybody know.
So you went to Butler. What was your major at Butler?
Psychology.
Interesting. Did you, when you were in school at Butler, did you want to be a psychologist or do therapy or anything like that?
I think for a while I wanted to be a forensic psychiatrist.
Oh.
And then, when you start counting the number of years to get a medical degree and a law degree, didn't seem quite as exciting after I kind of looked into that. And I just felt like a lawyer was where I wanted to end up being.
When did you realize that? Everyone kind of has their moment. Me, for example, I got to see a trial. I did an internship my senior year at Hanover, and I was like, this is awesome. I want to be a lawyer. Do you remember that moment where you were just like, I want to be a lawyer?
Yeah, I think, my junior year, I kind of thought like this would be a good career path, but I've never really known any attorneys, really understood what the day-to-day was like. And so my senior year at Butler, I was able to get an internship at a personal injury firm in Indy and just kind of got to see what the lawyers did and, help gear up for some trials and just kind of, it was exciting and felt like, this would be cool.
Yeah. So your first exposure to the law was in the PI space.
Yes.
And was that when you saw it? Well, let me back up a little bit. What were you doing there as an intern?
At the time, I was doing whatever they needed. It could be, mail. It could be, taking money to the bank. Pretty much whatever they asked, I would do it. And, printing out exhibits for trial binders.
Oh, my.
Kind of everything in between.
You're dating yourself a little bit, my friend.
I know.
Printing out exhibits?
Oh, yeah.
Taking money to the bank? We used to do that, That was now everything's all electronic,
Oh yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on because you use a service that we started working with as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But so you started working for this personal injury firm. And was it then that you really noticed you were like, wow, these people can make a difference in someone's life?
Yeah, I think at the time I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I had aspirations. I love sports. I kind of wanted to be a sports agent. I was really into negotiating and
Yeah.
the contracts and that kind of aspect of sports. And so, it kind of was a natural segue into being a personal injury attorney. I'm negotiating every single day on God knows how many cases, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Did you, when you went to law school, were you still of that mindset? You were like, I don't know if I want to do PI work necessarily, but I think I could still want to be a sports agent.
Yeah, I clerked at a personal injury firm one summer.
Yeah.
And then the next summer, I had more of a sports law internship just to kind of see what the day-to-day was like there. And I enjoyed both of them. But I think once I graduated, I had a great opportunity to get into the PI space, and I've never looked back.
Yeah. And so after graduating, what were the early days of your career like, and where did you work?
So I worked at Hensley Legal Group.
Okay.
I started kind of doing some mass tort work, doing kind of a lot of the background stuff on some different mass tort projects that they were handling at the time, and filing complaints and doing plaintiffs' fact sheets. A lot of phone calls, a lot of paperwork. Talking to clients and family members quite a bit. But that was kind of my first almost 2 years was working those mass tort cases.
Okay. And so you did not have an opportunity to try a case those first couple of years?
Yeah, those first two, and I helped. I got to help on some of the litigation files, and then I kind of started working more with the more standard personal injury, auto, premises type cases, and second chairing some jury trials.
Yeah. Do you currently do any mass tort work? Your current firm?
I do not. We have firms that we're able to refer a lot of that work to, but I don't think we really put much of a focus on that.
Yeah, we're the same. We don't do any of the mass tort stuff here. We partner with other firms, and people that are more qualified to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you worked at Hensley Legal Group for a little bit, and how long did you work there?
So
Probably not a little bit. It was a while.
It was just short of 12 years.
Oh my gosh!
From my senior year at Butler until this past 2023.
Yeah, and during the course of working there at Hensley, I'm guessing you had an opportunity to try cases, right?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I got to try quite a few cases, actually, both first chair and second chair. I had a lot of leeway to kind of go fight for clients, whether it was, fighting over a case that, got a verdict for $20,000 or, $200,000. They gave me a lot of room to learn how to be a trial lawyer. Yeah.
I love hearing about those, smaller, quote unquote, smaller cases, those $20,000, $30,000 cases, because those are really that's like the bread and butter work. Those are the cases that you got to work up in front of the insurance company, to try to get them to treat your client fairly, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you got to keep them honest,
right?
If they know that you haven't tried a case in 5 years, they're not too worried when you're saying, okay, I'm going to take this to trial.
Yeah.
So it was fun kind of, having adjusters that were like, oh, you're never going to beat this. And
right.
then you beat it and you don't even have to say anything. You just smile and move on.
Right. Yeah, because they've noted that. Now it's noted, so they know the next time that you've got that, $20,000, $30,000 case, they better put that kind of money in front of you. Otherwise, they go to trial and risk quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Potentially. So, especially if they put your client in a position where they can't settle it,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about the evolution from going from Hensley Legal Group, which is a bigger firm, to McCready, right? Am I saying that right?
Yep, McCready Law.
Yeah, McCready now, which has different locations, different jurisdictions, but as far as your office here in Indianapolis is not just doesn't have as many lawyers, right?
Correct. There's 2 of us practicing right now, soon to be 3, hopefully.
Very cool.
But yeah, we've got a nice office up in Keystone, and it's a growing practice in Indianapolis for sure. We've got a lot of great clients. We handle stuff all the way from Northwest Indiana down. I've got a couple of cases in Evansville and New Albany.
Yeah. And McCready Law, that firm originated it's an Illinois law firm, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike McCready, the founder, he actually has practiced both in Illinois and Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's still the kind of boss that'll come and cover a pretrial conference for me up in Lake County, so I don't have to drive 2 hours for a 10-minute conference. So
that's great.
That's very nice.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And so, are there any other states that McCready Law is working out of, has an office out of?
So not currently, but I am also licensed in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So we are looking to potentially take work up in Michigan. Kind of looking to grow that a little bit, and that's kind of on the the next medium term goals.
Right. They've got PIP up there in Michigan. I've had to deal with some Michigan PIP issues.
Yeah, the PIP and the no fault. It's just crazy how different the laws can be. In 2 pretty similar states.
Exactly. Yeah, right next to each other too. Yeah. They've got PIP down in Florida, and I've got my Florida license. I never practiced PIP down there, but Chip at the office here, he did a lot of PIP work down there. And it's just crazy to hear some of the stories that, the PIP, I think, is limited there versus in Michigan. And so you get into a fight over $10,000 in PIP and you end up spending, $100,000 on the lawyers. Yeah. So, well, let's talk a little bit about kind of your practice areas here in McCready. What are some of the different areas of law that you practice in, specific to personal injury?
Yeah, I have quite a few kind of more standard auto cases.
Yeah.
I do a lot of auto cases, and then probably about half of my caseload premises cases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have quite a few. There's never a dull moment working on the premises cases.
Never is.
But I would tell you, I think almost all of the best results that I've gotten in my career were actually premises cases. So
yeah,
they're there.
They are, and a lot of people don't want to try them.
Yeah.
I hear this a lot from mediators and some other folks, is the premises cases, only 40-50% of them ever even see a verdict, because of the way comparative fault is in Indiana. Has that been kind of your experience as well?
I've never had a case completely dismissed on summary judgment. Fingers crossed,
right.
knock on wood. But,
yeah. What about defense verdicts on a premises case?
I haven't gotten one yet, but
because you don't try the bad ones. You only
you get them resolved. I did have one. I was fortunate enough. I got a good verdict, and it ended up going up to the Court of Appeals, and that Court of Appeals decision was actually a great precedent for premises cases moving forward. So I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, it's always good when you can help the rest of us, right? So it's always good because it's hard enough as it is.
Yeah. I had to fight a summary judgment on that, and then, an appeal and all sorts of stuff. It was a lot of extra work, but at least it ended the way that I'd hoped, and now it's kind of fun when I'm writing my response to someone else's summary judgment, and I can cite a case that my name is on.
Right. Or if they, I was at a mediation last week, and they brought up an issue that was addressed by the Supreme Court in our case that I did for ITLA. And I'm co-counseling that case with Tim Devereaux, and it was his case, my case. and it was funny because Tim goes, they're messing with the wrong dudes because they didn't realize that we'd already dealt with that, So we were probably of the people in the state, at least with that particular issue, the most qualified to fight them on it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's nice to be able to cite to your own case law, and it's nice, when people call you about it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, Rudy, I've got this kind of issue. And you're like, oh, wow, that was so similar to this problem that I had to deal with, and you can kind of help them along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to ask you about your thoughts on premises cases, but I think I kind of know them already. You love them.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they're fun. They're interesting. They're challenging for sure.
Yeah.
The laws are just so specific in Indiana.
Yeah.
Some that I don't care for so much.
Right.
But, that's part of the game.
Right. The one of the things that we had a Michigan premises case. We had to deal with the open and obvious defense up there, which is much different than up here. It's more, it's very difficult up there. Yeah. So sometimes and you probably deal with the same thing. You have a client come to you and they kind of come to you and they're like, well, I tripped and fell on so-and-so's property, or this happened on so-and-so's property. Aren't they just automatically liable?
Not at all.
No.
It's our job to prove, some kind of negligence.
Yeah.
Just because you fall doesn't mean that somebody did something wrong. And, that's a challenge in front of a jury also.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest challenge there is, we're pointing the finger, asking for money, and we have to show that there was something that caused this fall that wasn't, our client.
Yeah. Do you, in your premises cases, do you like to use the 30B6 as a weapon, I guess?
I have.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just kind of depends on who the witnesses are. If there are, actual witnesses, I think it's tough when, nobody from the defendant was there, or,
right.
And, if an incident report wasn't made, then 30B6 is about all you got.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that kind of brings up another issue. So in a situation, 30B6, you demand a corporate representative show up and you kind of list out what the types of issues that they should be dealing with. What do you do when someone shows up and they can't even answer half the damn questions? Yeah.
That is very, very frustrating. I think,
right.
Sometimes I just start going into with them, okay, I have this question, who would know the answer? I have this question, who would know the answer? And it can be dull and it can take a while, but right. if I need this information and it's crucial to the case, then I'm going to make them tell me who knows it, and if nobody knows it, then great.
Right. Well, and that's a perfect example, Rudy, of what a trial lawyer has to do. Pivot and think on your feet. You have the witness right there. They're right in front of you, and you have an opportunity to question them. And even if I've seen people go through the list on 30B6 notice, well, like you said, who would be able to answer this? Who'd be able to answer this? So, you got to get what you can get while they're there, because you probably had to set that deposition out months in advance, if I had to guess, right?
Yeah. And actually the one that comes to mind on a case that I had, there was a witness for the defendant, but nobody can find him.
Oh gosh.
And the 30B6, they basically, nobody knows any of the information that I need except for this one witness, and they're not producing him. So the court actually excluded him and granted our motion for a ruling on liability. So it
when did that, how far before trial was that, or was that during the course of the trial?
That was probably, I'm not even sure if there is a trial date yet.
Oh, okay. So you got it now. That's great, because then you can use that to try to find a resolution, or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a challenging case
right.
to work on up to that point. And shortly after that, I got an email asking about mediation. So
That's a good sign.
That was encouraging.
That is a good sign. So let's talk a little bit about some of the cases that you've worked on, obviously within our confines as lawyers, confidentiality and things along those lines. Any case that really sticks in your mind, any memorable case?
I've got a couple, that the families, you get to know these people, and especially people that are hurt really bad. Oftentimes those clients are around for 4, 5, 6 years because they're treating for so long. I've had a couple that, I feel like I'm part of the family now.
That's awesome.
I have clients, especially some of my trial clients, even ones that, I didn't get an amazing verdict, but I just went to bat for them.
Yep.
They still text me on Christmas. They still reach out to me. And I think what makes me feel the best is they refer people to me.
Yes.
I think that's, what better testament than, hey, I trust you to handle someone else's case that I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Those referrals are the best, right? Kind of warms your heart, because, to a certain extent, I understand we can make a good living doing what we do, but to a certain extent, most of the trial lawyers that I know that are true trial lawyers, that are really motivated for the right reasons, they have this inherent kind of need to help people, and getting those calls from your clients, people that were complete strangers to you, getting those messages from them that really just kind of touches you and it reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, let's change gears a little bit because not every lawyer wins every case. There is no such thing as a Matlock, right?
That's fair.
Yeah. So let's talk a little more about some of your memorable kind of losses where, a case that was maybe a sad situation where you did everything you could, but nobody knows what a jury's going to do and no one can control a jury. Yeah,
I actually had never gotten a defense verdict, and I actually got 2 in a row. And
oh my,
it's a humbling experience. But the first one was always very challenging from a medical perspective.
Oh yeah,
it was a client that had a lot of pre-existing, and had very expensive surgery and treatment, and it was kind of an all or nothing kind of case.
Oh yeah,
and the week before trial, we got an offer that was not a home run, but certainly
more than a defense verdict.
Yeah. So, and we discussed it, and the client wanted to go to trial, and unfortunately, opposing counsel had a very effective closing argument, and the jury agreed with them. Yeah. So that was tough, but we always knew it was kind of a boom or bust situation.
Right. And you tell your client, at the end of the day, I tell people when they first call the office, I just tell them it's my job. Part of my job is to put you in an uncomfortable position where you have a tough decision to make. Is the amount that they're offering you, is that going to be enough, or do you risk getting more or less at trial? Because the reality is you don't know what the jury's going to do until you get those 6 in the box.
No clue.
Yeah. and even then you can get sleepers in there. And if you've got time limitations during voir dire and things like that, you cannot necessarily explore. Emmanuel's over here nodding his head. Did he tell you he did a murder trial last week?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah. He was sat on a murder trial last week. First of all, I don't know why they put him on there after he told them he's like where he works, but I guess he looks like he's an unbiased and fair guy, Yeah. So, but let's delve a little bit more into trials. What is your favorite part of a jury trial?
I would have to say probably closing and rebuttal. I think it's just, it's where you have the fewest restrictions, and you get to really advocate for your client. You're making the arguments. You are demanding justice.
Yeah.
You are, really asking the jury to, do the right thing.
Right.
And I think, sometimes I kind of have to dial it back a little bit because I get so emotionally invested with these clients, because I've spent so much time with them that you get to the point where I just can't imagine that anybody would see things differently because they're such a good person and, they've really been through a lot. And so a lot of times I feel good about that after I, get up there and go to bat for them. They get jacked up and they're like, oh, that was awesome. I loved it. And, you just feel like, okay, I know that I did everything I could for this person.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. A lot of people say voir dire, Katie Karras, who another glutton for punishment who loves premises liability cases. So she always talks about voir dire being her favorite part. That is to me, that's the most difficult part. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Katie actually sat with me at my first chair jury trial.
Really?
Just to kind of back me up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was much appreciated. We got to try a couple cases together. So
that's awesome. You're in good company there. So let's talk about maybe, well, we kind of already did hint towards it, the part that you might look forward to the least when it comes to jury trial.
For me, it is when my client is being cross-examined.
Really?
I think for whatever reason, it's probably the same as what I told you with my closing. Like, I'm just like so invested in them. And if a defense attorney is asking questions that I don't like, or I feel like they're being a bully, even though they're, kind of doing it in a professional lawyer way, it gets under my skin. And so I have to kind of dial it back a little bit and just sit there and, be professional rather than, making faces like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So I think that's an area that I could always improve on.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I wanted to talk about when it comes to trying cases is the prep, because a lot of people don't mention that because it's not the sexy part where you're up there arguing, your case in closing. You talked about getting to know these clients for hours and hours, and you spend hours and hours preparing them, right?
Oh, yeah. It takes multiple visits over, a period of time. If you're waiting until the week before trial before you're starting to meet with and prep your client,
you're screwed.
This information needs to be in long-term memory.
Yes.
Long before that week of trial. The week of trial is more just fine-tuning, calming the nerves and, making sure there's, no red herrings out there and just getting the client comfortable.
Right.
The prep work is long before the trial.
Absolutely. Your office is using a program that we're using, Even Up.
Yes.
Is that right? So tell me, and we've only recently started using them. So tell me a little bit about Even Up and kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. So it's an artificial intelligence based company that has real humans involved as well. Mm-hmm. It was actually created by a former defense attorney.
Oh, that's funny.
But essentially, you are harnessing the power of AI to help create, in my primary use is for sending demands.
Yeah.
And it really helps create organized, smart drafted demands. It includes the best way that I can describe it. It's got CPT codes. It's got an excellent medical summary for each visit. It has a very, easily distinguishable chart of, special damages. Yeah. And it creates a good product that an adjuster can look at and say, wow, this is a good demand. They have everything organized well. It has exhibits that are all, compiled as well by them. So it's everything is extremely organized.
Okay.
I think, in the past, I've created, hundreds of demands myself and, going through page by page in the medical records and trying to decide what I think is important and how to word things, it takes a long time. And being able to utilize Even Up cuts a lot of that time out. And then it allows you to just go through and edit and kind of make it more clear.
Right.
It's so much more efficient.
Yeah. And it allows you to dedicate your time to other parts of your client's case, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The, kind of backtracking a little bit, when it comes to these insurance companies and these adjusters, the easier we can make it for them to digest, the more likely we are to get them to kind of understand the story maybe that we're trying to tell them.
Absolutely.
And tools like Even Up can help you do that. Are you using AI technology in any other parts of your practice?
Yeah, we have a program that we've been using that essentially transcribes all of our phone calls directly into a note in our case management software. And so we just recently started using that, so I think we're still kind of getting used to that and incorporating it. Every once in a while you'll see a word that you're like, I'm not sure that's what I said.
Right.
But it's extremely helpful a lot of times because you can be on a call with a client for 10 or 15 minutes and there's a whole lot that you discussed. And then before you have a chance to type in your note about the call, you get another call. Or, you have to jump into a hearing and you can go back and you're like, okay, yes, I remember all these things that we talked about. And then you can type up your note after the fact.
Right. I'm going to change up a little bit here and talk about the ITLA, Indiana Trial Lawyers Association. You're a member, right?
Absolutely.
And so what is, in your practice, how has the ITLA helped you in your practice?
I mean, it's really helped me harness the experience of, hundreds of lawyers across the state.
Yeah.
I'm not so naive to think I know everything. And I think it's a cool group because even the attorneys that have been practicing for 30, 40 years, I can see are learning new things every day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a wealth of knowledge, and there's so many great trial attorneys in Indiana that, I'm fortunate to have access to that because I think there's a lot of attorneys that just don't utilize that, and you're out on your own.
Exactly. It's like having a giant law firm, it's got your back, right?
Yeah, and everybody wants to help.
Exactly.
I think that's, it really raises everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you. What are some of your kind of hobbies and things that you like to do outside of the practice of law?
Well, I'd like to spend a lot of time up on Lake Michigan with my wife, Katie, and we have a rescue dog, Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
So we like to take her on walks along the water. She doesn't really like to get in the water, but it's the smells, the breeze coming off Lake Michigan is her favorite place to be. So we like to do walks. I golf a lot.
Yeah.
I play a lot of golf up in Michigan and down here in Indy whenever I can sneak out. But other than that, I like to try new restaurants. We live kind of right in the village in Zionsville, and we like to go check out a lot of local spots right there on Main Street.
Yeah. What's the best restaurant in Zionsville?
Ooh.
Your favorite?
I was going to say I'm going to get in trouble with the folks that we know at the other restaurants. I probably Noah Grant's.
Yeah.
That's my favorite spot. I like seafood, and they have great bourbon selections.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, you're speaking my language. Bourbon and seafood? Goodness.
It's a place to be.
Yeah. I tell everyone that I know if it swims, floats, or crawls in the ocean, I will eat it. So
yeah, I'm a big seafood guy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's for me being a Floridian, growing up with it. So, so what's next for you, Rudy? What's next for Rudy?
I'm in a great spot at McCready. We're continuing to grow. I'm kind of looking forward to bringing a little bit more of a trial culture, trying some cases, getting some verdicts, kind of, creating that within our firm. We've got some great attorneys, some attorneys that have tried a lot of cases, and we kind of have a younger generation of attorneys that I would like to feel like I can, help influence and bring that kind of a mindset to our firm.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing that, as we talked about earlier, it's going to hold them account. It's going to show the insurance company that you're willing to hold them accountable. It's going to help all the future clients and the current clients, help them find a resolution if they know you're going to take them to task.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
You can email me, rudy@mccreadylaw.com. That's MCCREADY.
Mm-hmm.
You can call me, 317-886-1314. I am available all the time. If you reach out, especially by email, I'm going to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rudy, thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex. This has been fun.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Circle City Conversations. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more future conversations.